Alrighty. Everyone, what is up? Hopefully we can all hear me. All right, how do I turn this off real quick?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, how we going?
All right, sweet. Yeah, good.
That's good.
Had my hot cross buns, coffee.
It's Good Friday.
Yeah, it is. Good
Or
Friday.
probably Thursday for most people.
Yeah, exactly.
For anyone who doesn't know, it's about 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:02 in the morning right now. So that's up. We've got 28 people in here. People are saying they can hear us, which is awesome. So basically, I'm going to run through, guys, how this will exactly work, just through a quick slideshow in a couple of minutes. But first off, thank you for joining the first ever virtual meetup for the Just Creative community. It's awesome to have everyone in here attending. And yeah, I'll jump into how everything works in just a second. We've got your man, Jacob Kass here, and I'm also Ryan Hayward. If you don't know, I'm the founder of Pitchproof, which is a community of over 80,000 designers, and we create a lot of virtual events like this for designers. One of them being our front row conference that Jacob is actually speaking at, which I'm sure I can dive into some conversations about that later. But yeah, let me jump on a quick slideshow real quick, and then I'll basically tell you guys how today's going to run. So let me share that screen again. Alrighty, hopefully we can all see that. Is that showing, Jacob? Cool. All right, awesome. So how does this madness actually work? So first off, we're going to have Jacob do a bit of a talk, answer your questions for about 20, 30 minutes, guys. So you can ask him whatever you want. We can actually bring you guys on as a guest on the actual screen here. So if you don't want to type the question, want to actually ask him a question in person, you can do that. Or if it's a question to me, I'm happy to do that too. Then we're going to break up and we're going to do 1 hour of networking sessions. So how that will work is you'll go to usepitchproof.com/chat, which was the link you used to actually get into this call. You would have seen how you had the main stage and all those little rooms underneath. So basically you can go through and click on any one of those rooms, and it will put you into a smaller like group call using a tool called Whereby, which is a free in-browser application. So you don't need any downloads like Zoom or anything like that. And those rooms are limited to about 4 people. So it's going to be a smaller room. There isn't going to be heaps of people. So you can really have some proper conversations. And yeah, you might meet a new bestie, who knows, right? 3 tips for you guys. Number 1 is to introduce yourself in these calls. Now, the problem is when we're doing something virtual like this, it can be a little bit difficult to have that actual interaction. So really just try to put yourself out there, guys, and just introduce yourself. Go, hey, my name's Ryan. I'm a designer from blah, 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 and just get that conversation started. And then tip number 2 is to learn about each other, be a human, ask questions, interact with one another. And then 3, contribute to the conversation. So I think this is just some fairly standard stuff, but it's really important when we're doing virtual stuff like this to, try to put yourself out there as much as possible. I know it might be difficult sometimes, but it's really worth it in the end. And then tip number 4 is to have your video on. You can form such a better connection when you've got your video on and your microphones are working too, rather than just being a black screen and a piece of audio. All right. So hopefully that makes all sense. We might jump through that again just before we jump into the networking sessions. But Jacob, would you like to start? Is there anything that you want us to talk to about your audience? Is there anything on your mind?
Yeah, so I've left it as an open book to figure out or to see what people wanted to chat about, because there's obviously so much, and I'm not sure how much of the audience is from Just Creative or from Pitchproof. So if you do have questions, you can use the chat or the Q&A box there. But yeah, the idea is just to hang out and ask any questions that you have on top of your mind. A little bit about myself. Well, before I get into that, thanks Ryan for putting this together. It's my first virtual meetup. So it's interesting to see how this all works, and I'm excited to see how these rooms work out as well. Especially because your front row conference is going to be like a similar style. So getting people used to this style, I think is handy. And yeah, it'll just grow and grow over the years for sure. Yeah. And I think you, apart from all this COVID stuff, you chose the right time to do it. So everything's going virtual now. So it's really,
exactly.
really cool to see.
Awesome. All right.
So
Couple of
yeah,
questions
so
coming in.
there are cool in question Q&A. So just if there are some people from your audience, my name is Jacob Kass. Just introduce myself now. So I run a design agency called Just Creative, and it's also a blog which I've been running for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I always lose track. So it's there's a ton of resources on my site, and that's generally how I've raised my profile, is through blogging, content marketing. I have a huge passion in logo design, branding, and recently brand strategy. So they're all the topics that we could talk about today. I'm also huge on affiliate revenue or passive income, so I can also talk about that. And that is a big hot topic, especially within my coaching group. It's a niching and passive income that they all tend to gravitate towards, or there is a future goal. So there's also that to talk about. But I'll look at your questions now. And hello to everyone. There's can you type in your chat where you're from? That'd be awesome. So what's the biggest?
Long Island from New York, I was saying.
Yeah, Long Island. It's Madrid, Spain, Morocco, Atlanta, Oceanside, California, India, Mexico, Australia, San Fran, Chicago, Canada, Florida, Romania. Wow. Croatia, Indonesia,
Everywhere
Argentina, Jersey, Brazil. That's amazing. This is amazing.
It's the power of meetups, man. Virtual meetups.
Argentina, India. That's cool. All right. I'm sorry. It keeps coming.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Make sure you switch the chat to all panelists and attendees. Okay, good tip. So Cam, biggest misconception about brand strategy and brand identity. So, well, brand identity is, let's start with that one, because most designers, I guess, would be somewhat know what that is. So brand identity is generally the identity of a brand. So to distill that down, it's everything that the brand it's how it's expressed. So it's it is the logo, it's the fonts and the colors, but it's also everything else below that is really expressing itself. So that can be like sound as well, but it's the identity is everything that makes up the brand, and the strategy is the guide that helps the brand express this. So when we do brand strategy, it's helping create this path for the brand to follow so it's actually expressed well through the identity. So that's kind of like a roundabout way of saying it, but the biggest misconception about brand strategy is not just about creating the identity. It's about creating it's about creating the plan for the brand and managing that brand. So that's really what strategy does. And to go a little bit deeper, there's like different aspects of a brand. So the internal brand, positioning, character, and expression. So I'm just going to touch on a few points. So purpose, vision, mission, core values, the audience, competitors, the brand differences, unique selling points, the voice, the personality. This is all part of the brand strategy that will help inform part of identity and how the brand is expressed. So that's really what it's about. So I think I have to I forgot to click answer live, but I did answer that question, Cam. So I'll click answer live next one. Next question is, I'm a graphic designer, but I'm embarking into a self-taught illustration career. Is there any advice for someone who's just starting out to find their own style and branding themselves? So I can answer that live. I can click that. That's cool. So no matter the industry, like if it's illustration or design, everyone's going to start from the bottom. We all did. So don't be afraid of that. I think the age-old saying "fake it till you make it" is true here, because you do have to fake it, because you don't have real clients. You don't have a portfolio yet. So that's the aim here. You have to kind of fake it, put together a portfolio, and that could be based on either fake clients, fictional briefs, or it could actually be working with small businesses that need this work. So you can approach them, do work for free or a small fee, and increase that over time. So if you're doing illustration, I'm not an illustrator, so I can't give you my experience in that realm, but I do know that this kind of problem is across the board. So start with doing illustrations and focus on a style that actually that you want to work on, or maybe you're still exploring, but if you do get hired for what's in your portfolio, so that's important to consider. What you put out there is what you're going to get hired for. So that's my advice. If you're starting out, just fake it till you make it, and evolve. So you'll learn what you like and what you don't like, and then the clients you like, and you figure out in a niche and all that good stuff. So it's a big question, because it's you have to do everything for it to work. But in terms of getting your work out there, that's probably the first step I would take for sure. Thanks, Mariana. All right. Oh, drop music, guys. Hello. Yeah, audio branding. That's a good idea, Cam. So audio branding is pretty novel to a lot of people. I haven't really delved into it until recently. Like I'm not an audio editor. I'm not a video editor. I've never really worked in that realm. So in the past, I don't know, a few months, I've been going into audio and video because I'm bringing out the podcast, and have to do some video editing. And I've never really been attracted to motion for some reason. But I am enjoying it more now that I'm exploring it. But yeah, audio branding or sonic branding is just branding for sound, really. And for example, whenever you listen to a video at the start, you may hear a certain jingle or chime, or on your radio, you'll hear your favorite brand on there. You'll hear a sound, and that really triggers it in your brain that it's that brand. So that's really what branding's about. You can create audio logos, you can create loops, you can create outros, intros. I don't know all the other terminology, like the sounds in between, the transition sounds. So I went through this process with a company called Drop Music Branding, who are in here at the moment, and they created the intro for the podcast and the whole sound for the podcast. And yeah, it came out amazing. So I'm going to be launching that next week. So you can hear all of that and understand what audio branding is all about.
Huge shout out to the Drop Music Branding guys too. They're awesome. We're working with them a bit now, and they're awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And yeah, so how that worked for like working with them, I kind of told them the tune of the show, like it's like my personality. And I have a partner, Matt Davies, who is also on the podcast, and his. So like I'm more of a softer, quieter guy, and he's very loud and loves to talk. So it's a good combo. And the show is teaching people about branding and strategy and design, a little bit design. So the underlying theme was a little bit, it was fast, but it wasn't like overly newsy. It was creative. It's so all these keywords I gave to Drop Music, I can't remember all of them now, but I gave them some samples from different companies that I liked, or other intros, and kind of used that as reference tools. And then they came back with different sounds. So that was really cool. And I'm excited to share that. And yeah, Drop Music Branding, big shout out. All right. Let's see if there's another question. Do you encourage designers to go for crowdsourcing? So good question. Do you encourage designers to go for crowdsourcing? I think in the beginning of the career, like I said, fake until you make it. Crowdsourcing, like going in a contest, if that's what you're referring to, can be a good way to just have a real brief and work towards something that's a little bit more real than just like a fictional brief, and you can have some feedback from the client. So it's a little bit more real, but it's not a long-term solution. Like you don't want to be an order taker for the rest of your career, but it's definitely a choice when you're beginning. If you're wanting to grow as a designer or illustrator or wherever you're at, it's good to position yourself as an expert, so you can be the consultant and actually advise the client on where to go, and that way you'll be able to charge more and be seen as a specialist. Okay, so Antonio, how do you sell strategy, and how do you answer the initial questions of the client? I just need a logo and a similar one. So that's a common problem. I also experience that. Often clients will come to me saying, I need a logo and maybe a website. So the way you take the conversation from there is you ask them why they need a logo and what their goals are. So if you get back to what their goals are, you'll understand that they don't just need a logo. They're trying to launch something. They're trying to sell something. And they'll start to realize they actually do need more than just a logo. And you can start talking, like the more you know about brand strategy, the better you can talk about it and the better you can sell it through. So if you don't have any experience doing brand strategy or selling brand strategy, it'll be difficult. But my advice is to learn as much as you can in that realm, books, courses, and whatnot, so you can actually talk about it. And that way you don't actually have to sell brand strategy. It sells itself. Because you can show the value of it, and then they start to see, oh, okay, I actually don't just need a logo or identity. If they're trying to build a brand and not just a business, that's the key there. So that's how I handle it. I also talk about analogies. I use a few, like the iceberg, a car. The iceberg one, it's like the logo is just the tip of the iceberg. Everything you see is above the surface. So you see the logo fonts and colors, but everything below the surface is what has actually made that iceberg appear. So the positioning of the company, like the customers, and pretty much how the brand is, like everything below the surface is that's kind of like where I go. Another metaphor I use is the car. So like engine, you're trying to get from A to B, but all you're asking for is the paint job. You just want the veneer of the car, but you actually need the engine for the brand to get to where you need to go. And that opens the discussion for brand strategy and why you need a deeper brief. So I also have a few videos on how to sell brand strategy. I've interviewed a couple of people on that as well, other brand strategists on YouTube or my IGTV. So Antonio, you can check that out too. Okay, Kezia, how do you find time to write all your blogs? So there's quite a few questions in here. I think you can upvote them. I haven't used this before, but I believe you can upvote them. So if you want to look at them, you can do that. Can you do that, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. And then also, guys, if you actually want to jump on this call and ask Jacob the question directly, let me know in the chat, and I should just be able to put you into this panel here.
Cool. So how do you find time to write all your blogs? Run the Facebook group, send emails, and do design work. I can barely find time to write a blog. So good questions. Time management is huge. I've been doing this for a long time, so I know how to manage time, and to give some insights behind that. Like I get this question a lot because I do have a lot of content out there, and I do a lot of things. But what you don't see behind the scenes is I don't write these blogs. They're guest authors most of the time. I run a new email newsletter that links to this content, and I occasionally run these newsletters I write myself. But most of the time, this content is written by others, and they've actually pitched me to write on my blog because my website is seen as a highly ranked website that has a lot of domain authority, which means people want to link from my site to their site so they can be ranked higher in Google. So I'm at a position now where, because I have so many backlinks to my site, that people want to do that. I know that doesn't help for everyone else. So blogging is, it's important to show your expertise. So you have to really think about evergreen content that will actually show your expertise, and you need to do some keyword research as well to actually make it worthwhile, because there's so much noise out there. What you're writing should really align to what your goals are as well, because you can spend so much time doing this and it just gets seen by a handful of people if it's not ranked well, if you don't market it well. So that's important to consider. As far as emails and design work, I'm doing less design work these days, to be honest, because strategy takes a long time. I do run communities, but when I actually do design, I'm very quick at it, just because of the experience that you know how to understand briefs quickly and what the client wants, and you just have knowledge of typography and design principles that you can apply this very quickly, versus some other, well, at least for logo and identity design, that's for me. Like if I went to do illustration, that would take me years. So that's not my expertise. So it's really about what works for you when it comes to time management. I also block off times on my calendar for certain work. I use Notion, which is just to keep track of all my projects and to-do lists, things like that. But other than that, I keep things pretty simple. I have a pen and paper that I cross off each day. I have a list of things to do the night before, so I have a clear path to follow the next day, although I've been pretty slack with that the past week or so. But yeah, that's some ways to manage time, but we all have the same amount of time. All right. Another question. Do you think audio branding is a good resource in brand differentiation? Yes. Yeah, definitely. Audio branding is definitely when you're having audio in your videos and your podcast, it's definitely a way to stand out and actually give some extra professionalism to what you're doing. So rather than just going straight into your podcast, for example, and just your voices, like you have a jingle that people like, oh, this is the podcast, and they know, they tune in. And you can actually use this sound on the rest of your brand as well. So definitely.
So we have the Drop Music branding boys in the actual panel here. I think they want to ask a question live. So if they're there, they...
Hey, what's up? You're on mute.
Oh,
Hi,
there we go.
how are you guys?
Good.
Everything
Yeah,
okay?
good.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Jacob, first, what's the first step in the process of brand strategy? Where do you start with when you are creating a brand from scratch?
Yep. So you ask the client, it's all about listening to your clients. You have to ask the right questions to facilitate information out of them. So I always start with what their goals are. Like what I have a little questionnaire before we get into this. So it's just the basics, so I understand that business a little bit more. I've also had like a short 15-minute discussion call before, just to know a little bit about that business. But once we get into like the workshops type of thing, I always start with their goals, their ambitions, where they want to see themselves in the future, and then start working on the big questions, like from the inside out. So why, how, and what. I also have been trying different approaches. So I've taken a few brand strategy courses, and everyone has their own different style worksheet and so whatnot. So I've been borrowing bits and pieces from all of them, or just trying out their way to see what works best. Actually, so I'm using I'm using one at the moment where they use Michael Johnson's book, 6.5 Steps. So I haven't read that book, but they have like it distilled. So they have 6 different questions they ask, but in more detail. So like, what are we doing and how do we do it? What do we value the most? What makes us different? Who are we here for? What is our personality? And why are we here? And you can kind of flip the order depending if it's a startup or...
So first you try to define the core values of the brand, and then kind of the positioning. Is that right?
Well, it depends if it's a new company or not. So you could start with why, if it's like a startup, why they're in business rather than just making money. And that will kind of it's kind of like the platform or the foundation for everything to come back to. Like if you're ever going through the process, you can always come back to like, why are you doing this? And then see if everything aligns. So I wouldn't say there's any set order. I keep my conversations quite fluid. So if you answer these questions, whether it's like in what order, it doesn't matter. I don't believe it's keeping that conversation going. I take notes, I record the video, and you can just distill information. So really you have to listen and read between the lines. That's what strategy is about. And then apply your thinking to the brand. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
Yeah, definitely.
It's what works for you and the client and their goals. So there's not one right or wrong way. That's what I found.
Okay, that's great. There's definitely a path going on, right? So
Yeah.
you start by listening the client and understanding why they're in business. According to that, you start working on the strategy of the execution, right?
Well, the execution comes after. So there's no execution until we've worked on the brand. So we're not jumping into any identity or logo or anything. We're just working on the internal aspects of the brand and how the brand is going to be expressed. So it does go in that order per se. Like I wouldn't go into a website or logo unless the strategy has been done, or at least some brief has been defined. So yeah.
Of course. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, and also.
No worries at all. Have an awesome day, and we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So,
bye, guys.
See ya. All right, cool. So I think we got someone else we can add into the chat here. Let me try to promote them to a panelist. So if I join or rejoin them. Maybe there's another question we can answer while we're waiting. Here we go. Taha, hope we are there. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right too. Hey man, how you going?
I'm really I'm doing great,
That's awesome.
and it's great to be in contact with Jacob through his blog and through his online posts. And I just have a question that if I'm writing a case study for a logo project, so would it automatically allow me to charge more than average? Let's say if I am charging $300, but if I write a case study with a proper presentation, with the use of good mockups, would that allow me to charge like $500 or $600? What is your suggestion? Just
So what your case studies are a good tactic to show the process of going from A to B, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can charge more. There's so much more to positioning that than just case studies. So it's your whole brand and how you're communicating. So for example, if you are targeting high-end individuals, like your brand may want to appear more high-end, for example, or if you're targeting lower individuals, like you may want to be more friendly and approachable. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a pretty loaded question, but yeah, case studies are a good way to show what you do for sure. But there's other aspects of positioning and marketing that you have to consider.
so I just have another question, if you can allow me, please.
Yeah, of course.
That is that now actually I am venturing into freelancing, and I have attempted 3 projects. They're hypothetical. They're not the real world project. They were just course assignments. So I've prepared them. I followed the whole process, the entire workflow. And so I made a whole brand strategy book. I mean, not brand strategy book, brand style guide. And so I'm gonna upload it to Behance and certainly other sites like Behance, Upwork, and Fiverr. You think hypothetical projects have that potential that can really assure you high-end clients, not in the early stage, but eventually, let's say in a month or 2? What do you think?
So what's the question? Like if
I have attempted projects.
Yeah, so you want to use the projects for your portfolio.
Personal projects. Yeah.
Yes. Those are
absolutely.
Hypothetical projects.
Yeah. So I was saying that earlier. Fake it till you make it, for sure. It's we all did it. We all started from nothing. So 100%. And I started with student briefs. You know, like from university, I used that to get work.
So
and as soon as I could, I updated the portfolio, and it's an evolution. You know, and like I was saying, you get hired for what's in your portfolio. So keep that in mind.
And if I show it to you, can I have your critique? Would it be possible?
I can even up that. You can share it in our Facebook group and you'll get multiple pieces of feedback as well. So if there's a community online, there's about 10,000 plus people. So there's a good chance you'll get some different feedback from different people. So I encourage you to post on there as well.
So in the May session, I'm really interested in joining your Inner Triangle group during the May session. So you think 3 months would be enough to prepare myself for being a proper brand strategist?
So I'm not sure where you're at with your career. Obviously, I'll have to know where you are. I do know that you don't have to be a designer to be a strategist. So it's great it just depends on your goals. Like for me, I'm a bit of a hybrid. So I kind of bring that to the table and use that as my point of differentiation. So if you want to just be a strategist, you could actually go and start learning that and not do design if you wanted to. So I don't think there's any set time that you can say like I'm this or that. Like as long as you're like promoting and show your skills, like you could, I don't know, potentially do it in less time than that if you really wanted to, because it's an evolution. You learn as you do it. And every strategy session you do or every client you work with, you're going to improve and become better and better. And then you can charge more and you can get more confident and so forth. So I wouldn't put a time limit on it, you know, just focus, like set a goal, focus on it and evolve.
Okay, so in the near future, if I say that I want to consult you in terms of one-on-one mentorship, so would that be easy for you to provide?
So question, like, yeah, that's the idea of the coaching calls and mentorship, is to answer what your struggles are. And that's really what we've been doing in this coaching program. This first one is talking about the current struggles, what the goals are, and any help that I can provide or the group can provide. So it's all about accountability, clarity, and community.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Tyler.
Awesome, dude. Have a good day.
So are you choosing the questions, or should I keep going?
Keep going if you want. Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to figure out some technical stuff.
Can they be upvoted? I don't see any upvotes, so maybe that's just not on this one.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe not on Zoom.
Let me just scroll through some of these.
There's a few.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you manage the number of iterations and updates when designing a brand for a client? So iterations, so in the beginning, I used to have a questionnaire like, I'm going to give you 3 concepts and like 8 revisions. And these days, I don't do any of that. I just say, I'm going to get you the result. I don't say any amounts of revisions. I don't say any caps, because if I'm not doing what they're asking, then I don't think like I deserve to get paid. So it's about managing expectations and really honing in on what the design brief is and what they're trying to do, so you can actually refer back to what the brief was and say how you've actually achieved this based on your expertise of design and all those principles that design has, and branding as well. So rather than managing iterations and updates, just have a solid design brief and understand what the client is trying to do, because that will allow you to design better, facilitate things easier, and just streamline the whole process. Like, it took me years to figure this out, but I just got rid of any numbers on my proposals or anything, and just said, I'm going to give you the solution and that's it. But obviously that comes with confidence and just some experience. So maybe not start with that, but I found that works for me now.
Awesome. All right, we got Alfredo in here. Dude, what's up?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey,
yeah.
Man.
How's it going?
How you doing? Thank you for doing these guys.
Yeah,
I got a question for Jacob.
Yeah.
So basically, I work for a brand of Belushi's bars. They're really established bars in London.
Yeah.
Before this whole situation, we were kind of doing like a strategy, like a brand strategy meeting, because we wanted to change like the whole positioning of the brand. Let's say, as you call it, like the part of the iceberg that's below the surface. Yeah.
Yes.
Because the whole point is to attract a different type of customers. We're not necessarily going to change the logo or the POS or the websites or anything. So I guess that my question is, how do you reflect that to the end user or to the brand that you want to position it differently?
Yeah, so there's a couple of aspects there from what I hear from that short little description. So if you're trying to target different people, you part of that is your audience and figuring out who you're trying to target. So it could be a matter of looking at different personas and who your target audience is. And maybe it's a new group of people, maybe it's the same people, but they've just evolved or grown older or have different interests now. So you have to evolve and adapt. So that'll be my first point of call if you're trying to attract an audience, just see who they are. And then go through those other big questions, like what your goals are with the rebrand. And you may actually realize, we actually do need a logo update, or we do need to refresh our campaigns, or whatever it may be, because what was working before may not be working now and doesn't align with what you're trying to do. So that's really what this is. It's looking at what your goals are, who your audience is, how you're positioned, and how that can actually be translated to design. So yeah, working all those internal aspects first before you jump into anything else.
Okay, sounds good. So you don't necessarily need to communicate that to the end user. You just do it internally first.
Not necessarily. No, it's all about doing it internally first. So that's why it is strategy. It's figuring out what you need to do before going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, cool, dude. Have an awesome day.
Anyways, you too, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I think there was someone else that wanted to join. Here we go. Let me add. Right to panelists. Hopefully in just a second we'll have someone else in here. We might do another 5-10 minutes of questions, and we'll jump into this networking stuff, which I'm sure both Jacob and I will be floating around in those too. And then, yeah, after that, we'll do that for about 40-50 minutes. And we'll all come back here at the end and maybe do an extra 10-15 minutes just to wrap it up.
Cool.
All righty.
Do the rooms have themes, or like how do you know what's happening on each room?
It's just a random room. So hopefully, knowing your audience, most people will align and be able to connect with one another either way. But if we wanted to, we can probably organize certain themes for each room. But
yeah, because there may be different skill levels, and like some people in strategy,
sure.
Some people starting out. So
for sure. Well, we can discuss that in a second. I'll try to whip something really quick up on the website. I'm not sure if he's joining. Right, panelists. Maybe there's a couple more questions while we wait.
Okay. So what's your number one tip to get new clients? New to freelancing, part-time, hopefully eventually go to full-time. So it's good that you have a little goal there to go full-time, and you should build up to that over time, create some runway, have a plan of attack. But in terms of getting clients, like it depends on who your clients are, but you have to think from the client's perspective. Like, where do they hang out? What are their beliefs? What are their values? Like, what are they going to be hiring you for? Rather than getting clients, you could think about them getting you as well. So I personally use an inbound marketing strategy, but that's not necessarily right for everyone. You can actually go to where they hang out and create a relationship, not just sell your services. Never just like blurt out a pitch. Like, I get like dozens of pitches from people like every day. It's crazy. Like LinkedIn, email, it's just like, there's no relationship building. It's just, here's what I do, take it. And there's no like, no conversation. So like, from someone that gets like bombarded all the time, what value it is, what something is valuable to me is creating that relationship and getting that talking and just some rapport going before, building some trust before going into business. So if you can do that, I think starting relationships and building that up is the best way to go. It's slow, but you'll find that you'll do less work because you're not outreaching to everyone. It's just like a slow build, and you build trust over time. It doesn't happen in a message or an email. So think of it like that. So that would be my tip. Okay, Alex, there's a question. How do you ensure that a brand stays on the path you've set out for them once you've handed the keys over to your client? So a good question. You can't always manage a brand, but the strategy is only as good as its execution. There's no, if you hand over a strategy document and then it's executed poorly, like the strategy is not going to work. It's simple as that. So, yeah, you just have to ensure like what you've done is clear to what their goals are, and they're aligned with that. And that's really your job as a consultant, is to educate them on where they're trying to go and how to do it. And if you've provided all the tools for them, then hopefully they can implement it. So that would be my tip.
Awesome. Stephen, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up? You're on mute, man.
The classic Zoom.
Unmute my audio.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hey, man. Yeah, good.
What's up, buddy? You well?
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Mate, I just had a question because like everybody knows you as the logo guy, when it comes to logo design, you are the master that everybody looks to. When I got into strategy, I noticed a big difference and a big impact in understanding all of the strategic elements. then flowing into my design work because I was thinking from a completely different perspective, and I was thinking about the characteristics that I needed to, you know, include within my designs. Have you seen any kind of change in your design processes in terms of bringing that strategic work and that strategic thinking into your designs?
Well, I've always had some form of strategy that has helped me design. So it's just gone a little bit deeper with what's come beforehand. And that's really about building the brand and not just doing the design. So I think it has helped inform some design aspects, but I wouldn't say exponentially, because I did have a pretty thorough brand identity brief beforehand that allowed me to still design well. But the strategy documents has allowed me to facilitate the discovery calls and the actual process of designing much easier. So it's like a yes and no answer, because I did have a thorough brief before, but yeah, it's yes and no. So what about yourself? Like, yeah, I know you did a little bit.
Yeah. Well, for me, it completely changed. I mean, I did have my strategic thinking, but it was mostly based on keywords and an idea. It really wasn't based on the person and the deep understanding of the audience. And then, you know, translating that into a personality and then the characteristics that you want to display through the visuals, because that's the biggest thing that I found, was that by defining your personality, you draw out the characteristics that you want to communicate. And then, you know, when it comes to designing, that's visual communication, and you know, the ace up the sleeve of visual communication is displaying those characteristics. Yeah,
for sure. And I totally get that. What my briefs were before were to actually distill like the brand's personality, and I think that's the easiest way to bridge the gap between personality and design, is to actually know those certain keywords that you're trying to convey. Like, is it bold and loud, or is it minimal and so forth? But I completely understand where you're coming from, because you don't actually understand all of the brand aspects and all the positioning and all the different types of customers you're trying to attract. So that's what I think the deeper level you're talking about is, that you can understand who all these audiences, all these customers are on a deeper level. So you can actually connect to them better on a deeper emotional level, which wasn't possible with the brief I had before. So I was connecting, but just not as deep. So
yeah, good stuff. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Have an awesome day.
You too, boys.
See you later.
See ya.
All right, cool. So I reckon we could jump into some networking sessions now, Jacob, if you're happy to do that.
Yep.
So I'll share my screen again just so we can run through a couple of things, make sure it all runs as smoothly as possible. So yeah, guys, we'll probably go 45 minutes to an hour. We'll do some networking sessions. So how they actually work. How do I click? There we go. So how they actually work, just head to that link again, use pitchproof.com/chat, and you can join a room. Now, we spoke about breaking these up somehow, Jacob, how I'm thinking of doing it. Chime in if you think there's a better way. Almost ranking yourself on from beginner, which is 1, to expert, which is 8, and kind of put yourself in that sort of line. And then hopefully, if everyone does that correctly, you'll be meeting people at a similar place that you are in your career. So if you're a real beginner, you've like barely ever designed, go to room 1, or if that room's full, go to room 2.
Let's keep it more simple, because there's only, I don't know, 30 people here. So how many can you have in a room? 4. Can you increase the limits, or is it?
I can, I believe.
Because I think there'd be a little bit more value if we can, because of the 30
Yeah,
number.
for sure. Give me a sec, I'll look into it. I'm pretty sure we can go to 12.
Okay. Yeah, so someone said I think it should be mixed, because beginners should be able to learn from experts as well. So maybe we could do it based on like what they're trying to learn. Like room 1 could be logos, 2 branding, 3 strategy, or something like that. Or
yeah, no, definitely. I'll just try to figure it out. Just need to knock before. That might not help. more rooms. All right, maybe we can go up to 12. Maybe if you want to answer a couple more questions, Jacob, just while I figure out this.
Oh, right. Sorry. I was just tuned out there for a hot second. Sure thing. Where is a question? Oh, social media strategies. Okay. Any advice on social media strategy, especially Instagram? What are some aspects of the platform I should be aware of when building a strategy? So social media is just a tool. It's a marketing tool, and it can be a waste of time inside if not done correctly. And if people can either lose focus by focusing on too many different platforms versus just like going hard in on one or two in the beginning. So you have to figure out what your goals are and why you're on Instagram. Are you trying to attract clients? Are you trying to share your expertise? Are you trying to just network with other people? Or you just want to share cat and dog photos, for example? So it depends. For me, I personally use it as an education tool, and that kind of allows me to build up a following in terms of showing my expertise and using that as a jumping off point to my website. And that's where I capture leads through my email lead magnet pop-up. So that's my strategy. It's like just educate, show my expertise. I don't actually really sell too much on there. I did go through one big sell-in of a course with Stephen from Brandmaster Secrets, and that went really well combined with email marketing. But end of the day, it's around a tool, and you need to know what works on each platform. So yeah, don't get overwhelmed with it. I would say if you're starting out, that to focus on your own platform first before even going into social media, because if you're doing all this promotion on social media and like what you're trying to sell and your core offering is not perfected, then it's a bit of a waste of the time. So that'd be my point of view.
All right, cool.
And my sons, if you hear that.
All right, cool. So it should be working now. So rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4 allow up to 12 people now.
Okay, cool. So let's start. So let's do logo one. Room 1 as like logo and identity design. Room 2 as strategy, and 3 as random.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if you can't fit in.
For sure. And then we've also got 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8, just in case you feel there's too many people and you just want a one-on-one session. Those rooms are there too for that availability.
Good idea.
So yeah, I'm also going to set a timer on stream on this actual main stage here, guys, so we know when to come back at the end. And yeah, I'm sure I'll pop around too, and Jacob will as well in all the chat rooms.
Okay.
And yeah, hopefully we can have some good conversations.
So can I join these chat rooms if they're full?
I will make sure you can. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe jump in one now so they don't fill up just in case.
Okay, so I'm clicking. You'll have to